attack, fast, fatal, hard impact, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact, don't ask, grab reactions, jacked, attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet now. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kira's show here, and well, I do have to say, in the last part, I went into a little bit of a gory bit of detail. I left some stuff out, but I did leave a disclaimer in the beginning talking about how it was going to be gory. For those of you who skipped over it, let me just explain. I went into detail about how Deku lost his eye and his arm. And the reason why I considered it to be gory, since I'm going to be talking about it and referencing it in this episode, so just a refresher for those of you guys who skipped part 22, Deku was forced to use One for All. He got his hand shot off. 2 of his fingers only leaving his bottom tiny finger and the one just above that, along with his thumb. The 2 fingers got shot off with a gun in his hand, after Deku killed 2 people, and fired 3 rounds into somebody. After that happened, Deku, they quickly started to move in. He got pushed into an actual corner. 3 people in front of him, all with the intent to basically cut him open and see what makes him tick. They know he's infected. And they know for a fact he might be immune. That's what they were thinking at the time. And Deku, after using One for All into his fingers and biting an actual chunk out of someone's face, he cut off his arm. Now, this proved to Deku about a theory. The theory of immunity and using a quirk. And he was proven correct. Deku wanted to assume the entire time he's had that bite on his arm, he could still use his quirk. He thought he was special. He thought that just because One for All, as he does have it, he thought that since he was quirkless and then gained his power, he could still use his powers. He's always been afraid to do so. And thanks to today, he discovered that he's just as human as everybody else. He's on their level, not above it. Now then, he was able to make his way to a small warehouse or a base they had in the city. They were still getting it all set up. However, everybody, they came to see Deku whenever Momo, who was actually at least moving some resources from a recent scavenge mission, there, she found him. And Deku, he basically collapsed. He's been running on sheer force of will and adrenaline, and pure survival instinct. However, he succumbs to his blood loss. And right now, he's been asleep for 3 days. He does find it to be quite strange. Whenever he actually does wake up, he does try to sit up. As whenever he does look to his left, him feeling shock throughout his body. As Deku, he does go to look around. He made it to the warehouse. He did it. Deku actually bring his hand up to his face. As Deku, he does try to run both his hands through his hair. He does feel the right side. However, there's the feeling of his left arm. As whenever Deku, he actually does go to look towards his left, he does realize something. His vision, it's not right. And Deku actually does have to turn his head more, as he does see that his arm is missing. The moment Deku does see it, it all comes running back. As Deku, he just screams. The moment his scream is heard, someone does come running into the room, as they basically do bust open the door and run inside. As Deku, he's just sitting in the bed, and he's looking at the nub where his forearm and arm used to be. And yeah, it's covered in clean bandages. And Momo should try to tell Deku to calm down. As Deku, whenever he does try to stand up or even really just try to get mobile, she actually does step forwards. Her actually pushing him back down onto the bed and trying to tell him to stay down. And that he needs to rest. Now, someone else does come running into the room. As Kirishima, he does help Momo. They have to try and hold Deku down and try to calm him down. Which, it's fairly easy. Not just because Deku, he doesn't have an arm now, but also because he's very weak. And they do try to explain it to him. Momo found him 3 days ago, and he was soaked and covered in blood. The condition he was in and the way he was, he's lucky to be alive. And Deku, he is just looking back over and to where his arm used to be. As they can tell he wants to say something. However, there's the look on Deku's eye, the look on his face. His eye is rapidly moving and darting around. He's trying to put something together in his head, something to say. However, you do actually have Deku. He's trying to run through those memories. This moment of clarity he has now. Now that he's calm, he realizes what he did, the men he killed, how he did it. And he actually does somewhat grit his teeth, as they can tell he's angry. As Momo, she was actually turning to tell Kirishima that he needs to go get Deku some antibiotics and some water. Along with that, at least get the medicine the doctor left. Deku actually hearing that, he just won't perk up. Doctor? Yeah. Listen, you know that group we've been at least looking about? Which one? Well, you know, the ones we've seen farming before. Um, the, um, the people who set up in a school, right? Yeah, those ones. The private academy place. They still have a school nurse. And we were able to make some arrangements. Really? Yeah. Their group is peaceful. And surprisingly, they're more open to trading with us, since some of those students, they're around our age as well. I see. Um, so, would you guys give up? We traded fruit. We also traded some vegetables. It's easy. We gave them some fresh stuff, and we already gave them what we would have had spoil. Okay. And, what's been going on since I've been gone? Izuku, you don't have to try and put up that brave face. Look at you. Momo just saying that he's been through something traumatic, and she wants to help him. Deku actually is turning his head, as he does look at her. She does have that look on her face, and Deku, he does mistake it for a second. For a second, Deku thinks that she's looking down on him. She sees him the same way Bakugo used to. And that shot across Deku's mind in an instant. The look on her face. She showed she cared. She showed that in a way she was worried about him. And whenever Deku recognized that expression, and he went to Bakugo, something clicked in his head. Bakugo, while the two were distant in a way, they were still friends. they seem to have at least still cared about each other in some way. Bakugo, he still was just a person. He wasn't the same person he was even before what happened at UA. Now, Deku, he does at least go to say the name of a place, informing her of what he thinks is there, and just saying that he needs some time to think. Now, Deku, he actually does go to lay back down. However, he does just go to turn his body and bring his right hand up and around the pillow, as he does face towards the wall. And we do actually have Momo. She actually does go to bring up the radio, as she does turn around and talk into it. Her talking to somebody on the other end, informing them as to what happened, where to go, and exactly what the danger is. And Deku, he does listen. As Momo, she does then say the following words: "Be careful what you do look at over there." And she does talk about how there might be something over there they might not want to see, and they need to be very careful. And while they're doing that, she'll stay here. And Deku, he actually just found it to be quite kind of surprising. His head actually perking up as he does hear that. Him actually going to somewhat turn back around, however, the moment he actually does somewhat look into the corner of his vision and see Momo with his right eye, he actually does go to turn back around. As Momo she does walk over to the other side of the room and grab a chair. Her bringing it over as she does sit it down. Her then sitting down and telling Deku that she knows he doesn't want to talk. However, she is going to talk while he sits there and listens. She's not going to try to say anything that could be inspiring. She's not going to try and say anything to try to cheer him up. She's not going to try anything he thinks. She's just going to tell him exactly how she feels right now. And Deku, he does still look at the wall as he tries to focus. Momo going on to say something. She talks about how Deku, he saved her life once. She almost got pulled out of that store, and Deku, he was there. Thanks to him and the others, they were able to get her hair cut. They were able to save her. He's the one who instilled this idea into them. He's the one who helped create the groundwork, create the book, create the guide, if you will, as to what to do to survive. She is still unbitten. She's been scavenging. As far as she does know, her, Kendo, him, and Kirishima, they're the only ones who have been bitten. And Deku, he does know about that much. Her talking about how what she can assume is they brought a zombie into the room and tortured Deku. She knows about the bite marks on his chest. She's the one who washed him, and she is the one who gave him and wrapped him up. She is not going to abandon a friend, especially whenever they're trying to put up walls to protect themselves. Deku, he does hear that. And he does still face away. However, a tear does start to stream down his face. He doesn't know what to say. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know how to feel. Everything in his life, it ended once. And now he hit another low. One for All was supposed to be the quirk that made him special. The ability to give him power. And what did it do? It destroyed his arm and his legs, and it took his limb from him. All Might gave him this power to be a hero, and he used it to kill people. And he paid a good enough price for that. Deku, He knows in his heart, All Might, if he were still alive, he would take this quirk back if he could. The look on his face, it would be enough to just let Deku know. He failed his mentor. He failed the number one hero. And Momo, she actually does hear Deku quietly sob, as she does go to at least hold out a hand and bring it onto Deku's shoulder. Deku, as he does feel it, he does somewhat jump and tense up. And Momo, she doesn't draw it back away. Her just telling Deku to let it all out, and she won't be one to judge. And Deku, he does this. He lays here and just tries to process it. This event he's been put through. The things he did. And where he is now. Because of it. As we do have Momo and Kirishima. Or let's just say Jiro and Kendo. The two, they do go out and explore the area, discovering the place where Deku was. Whenever they do get into the building, they find it empty. Now, the two of them, they did come armed, as they walked into the building, and they were looking around. It did seem to be dark, and presumably the lights aren't on, or there might not be power to the building. So Kirishima, he does turn on the flashlights, as the two of them, they're walking around and at least staying close. They know that if something does jump out from the dark, they need to shoot it, and that they can't really trust anything here. It's either a hostile person who might have been infected and turned, or B, it's a pre-existing zombie. There's nothing human in this building. And this does somewhat raise a question. Whenever Kirishima, he's walking around, he actually does hit something with his foot, as he does look and see a chain on the ground. Him reaching down and picking it up. Him thinking that May could probably use this for something. As he does go to roll it up, and whenever he does so, he actually does find half a cinder block on the other end. Him kinda confused by this. However, he actually does shine his flashlight in that direction, as he does see a bloody oil drum, and this does catch him off guard. The moment he does see it, Jiro actually does comment on it, asking if he does see the thing behind it. Before he actually does go to step a bit to his right, and he does realize that the thing behind it is a human arm. This actually being where Kirishima, he does somewhat go to turn and go onto his knees for a second, bringing his hands down, and he does try to keep his lunch down. And yeah, it's covered in being swarmed by flies and some bugs. It looks pretty bad. Him actually looking around a bit more, as they do trace the blood on the ground. They trace it over to a workbench, where there's a bloody blowtorch on the ground, and whenever they do look a bit more around the area, they do see a meat cleaver. This thing is soaked in blood, and so is part of the wall. Whenever Kirishima, he actually has to take a step backwards a bit, and go to at least ask Jiro to shine her light here too, she does do so, as it seems strange. And Kirishima is trying to piece it together. What's big enough to make that dent? And from looking on the left, there's a good amount of something purple. It doesn't make sense. This being where he actually does follow the staircase. Whenever he actually does walk through this hallway and up the stairs, he does see something leaning against the wall, and he does try to be careful. However, upon getting up there and finding a human corpse, yeah. He does go to take the gun belts, searching the man for ammunition, anything that might be useful. As he does at least try to cover his mouth, with a rag, or even just a piece of cloth, since this man, he reeks of death. And so does the entire hallway. As he does look at the other blood splotch on the wall, before he actually goes to take a step, he does hear a crunch. Him looking down. As he does go to slowly bring his foot backwards before finding out that it's covered in goop. And this actually does catch him off guard. As whenever he does look around the floor a bit more, he does see a human finger. And he actually does go to try to just jump away from it. However, this is actually where something does happen. A groan and a moan can be heard. As whenever the two of them do shine their light down the hallway, they do look at the walls. What happened here? They're covered in just cracks. Not just that, this entire place. Downstairs was covered in dust. But here, something's wrong. As Hijiro, she actually has comment on the walls, talking about how something unusual created the slashes here. And as she does walk further down, she does try to at least pay attention to them. There's large cracks and slashes all over the walls now that she's looking at them. The ceiling, the sides, even the floor. And you do have where they do make their way to the three bodies they see against the wall, or the very back. As it seems strange. The two of them, they do stand there. And while they're arguing back and forth on whether or not this is either one person or a creature, they're kind of debating back and forth. This thing looks like it's a zombie trying to assimilate dead flesh. However, that can't be right. It should be just one creature, right? And the two, they do go back and forth. As Jiro does comment on the bite mark on that person's face, talking about how they must have been corkless, and that they got infected by a zombie. Jiro not knowing something very important. Now, this actually is a bit more concerning, as they do take the resources they can after killing the zombie, and they do head back with their information. As Deku, yeah, he does just isolate himself for a minute. He's not sure what to really even do, or even really what to say. And we do have Kendo. She does hear about this information, and find it to be kind of odd. From what they understand, or what she understands, this event and what they may have found, whenever she does actually look at Deku a bit and hear more information, they do want to confront Deku. However, they're still unsure. And whenever Kendo does come to see him, Momo, she does leave the room. As whenever she does open the door, Kendo was there, asking Momo if he's okay. Momo actually pushing her out into the hallway and going to speak to her. Kendo, I'm not going to lie to you. He's not doing well. Listen, I think he's going to be more unstable. I'm worried. He's all we have. I know. Listen, he's our friend. He's gotten us through so much. We can't just abandon him. Kendo, I understand that. However, what happened to him right now, that's not the problem. He shouldn't have been out scavenging that day. The area he was in, we made sure was cleared. It shouldn't have been even remotely close. He shouldn't have been caught by anybody, and there shouldn't have been anyone there. That's what I'm trying to say. I think there are people watching us again. You can't be serious. You think people are watching us? Listen, it's the only theory I have. It's the only one that would make sense. We've been watched once before, and we lost Okage because of it. All I'm saying is keep a gun and make sure it's loaded. Because if something just jumps out of the corner and gets us, there's no telling what could happen to us. In that room is our friend. What happened to him can happen to any one of us. Those people, I can only assume they did that to him. He got away? Hell, we don't even know if they're after us. Now, this is actually where the door does open. And the two of them, they do somewhat turn around, kind of confused. As Deku, he just staying there. And he does at least go to inform them. If they're going to whisper, they need to do it quieter. Because they're really not hiding anything. No one's coming after them. And Momo has asked Deku how he can be so sure. As Deku, he does turn around. And he does try to formulate the words in his mouth. As Deku, he does think about it. I killed them. That's what he's thinking. That's how he knows they're not coming after them. He does hesitate. As these words come out instead, he made sure of it. And they do just hear that. There's a moment of silence. And then the idea of processing it. What they heard. They aren't coming after them. They're safe. He made sure of that. What does that mean? This being where Kendo, it does hit her for a minute. Deku, he's a go-getter. If you want something done, he'll either plan it or do it. The words, they register with her instantly, as she does bring her hand up informing Momo that she is gonna go. And Deku, he does only assume the look on her face. She knows already. And as Momo, she actually does walk back inside the room and at least help Deku sit back down. She has to try to ask him questions. Asking if he needs anything to eat, if he's thirsty, or if he's, well, if he just wants to talk. They can talk about anything. And Deku just does ask her for his notebook. Huh? I don't have it. It's back at the mansion. May and Toga are still there. They're holding down the base. That's good. That's good. Now, Momoshia stirred Deku. He's still... yeah. She does look at him. She remembers the first day of UA. She remembers meeting him. The two, they did at least exchange a brief glance. The smile on his face. So happy to be there. And now, it does just hurt her. As she's going to do one thing. She does go to actually bring her hands up. As she does go to grab Deku by his cheeks. And at least go to lean in. Deku confused as she does put her forehead against his. And Deku, he does just try to look at Momo. He's confused. And this actually does cause Momo to do one simple thing. She'll just tell him that it's okay. He's safe. And Deku, yeah. He does just go to close his eyes. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. Have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.